see the whole world shaking, and you feel your heart is breaking. Take my hand, no hesitating. Oh, when you're just so tired of trying, all alone you feel like hiding. Together we'll keep fighting. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't stop now. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna mountains too high we can climb it. Feel this, we're taking the moment. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Can you see the sun is shining like a new hope? Feel it rising, coming over the horizon. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't stop now. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna mountains too high we can climb it. Feel this, we're taking the moment. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. There's no stopping.
Good evening, and I'm starting a little bit earlier than 7. I apologize. I've been busy the whole day. I've been busy showing homes and writing contracts, which is a good thing. But it's a very competitive market. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I think it's going to be very apropos. I'm just checking to see if if I'm feeding to my blog. I think I'm feeding everywhere else. Let me just, while you're hang on there, let me see if I'm in my groups. If I'm feeding there, this is just a little checkup. Yep, I'm feeding there. And I'm feeding to my pages, my Facebook pages. Let me double check on that. And I'm showing there. Okay.
Everywhere else.
Okay.
All
right.
Okay,
we're getting a little feedback. Okay. Okay. So again, I had to make some changes to the blog. Oh, now it's showing. There's like a few minute delay before it hits my blog. I don't know why it's happening, but what can you do? What can you do? Okay. Well, anyway, it's September 18th already. We're still warm out, but went into Harris Teeter and they were putting out all the pumpkin spice cakes and biscuits and cupcakes and all these wonderful things. And then it's like 90 degrees out. But I think the week coming up is going to be a little bit cooler. But what we will talk about, it's going to be very apropos. It's going to be about what I've been going through, okay, and what you can expect with this market as a buyer right now. So before we start, let me do my little intro. Okay, and again, I'm starting early because I was out the whole day. Only had a yogurt with some walnuts for lunch, and I'm really hungry. And then I was going to pre-record the show and started at 7, and then someone wants me to write a contract, so uh, I figured I just would go on air like 10 minutes earlier. You could always restart the program at first, but today's episode is very good on dealing with today's market and as a buyer, okay, and there's a lot of strategies that have to go about when you're a buyer in today's market, and this is what I'm doing right now with this young man who has excellent credit. You know, I'm his agent. He's a buyer, has some money in the bank, and we've already written 2 offers, and we were beat out. Okay. And so we're trying some new strategies, and I will talk more about them as I get my PDF form up here, what we're going to discuss today. And okay, and just to go back a little bit, and you're saying, if you've been watching all my live stream podcast, you know why we have this competitive buyer's market right now. And of course, it's because of the pandemic. And for quite a few months, maybe for about up to a year, sellers were not putting their homes on the market because of fear of people walking through and getting or spreading the COVID-19 virus. Now, again, these are for homes that are still occupied by the seller. If someone has already left their home and their home is vacant, then it's not that much of a problem. They might still have some concerns if they have to come up and pick back to the house and pick up some things, but it's not as much as a concern than if someone is still living in the house. So because of a strong buyer demand and extremely low interest rates, there's a strong demand for homes. And whenever you have a very strong demand for homes and a low inventory or supply, you have increases in price. And because the market that we work with, since you have more than one person applying for a house, it's competitive, right? We all right now know that, let's say, bacon has gone up, right? But we don't go in there and say, well, there's this 1 pound of bacon and 5 people trying to buy it, and they're bidding higher and higher and higher, right? So in the housing market, it's different because you have one property and maybe 5, 6 people interested in that property. You know, they want to purchase it, so you have this competition. So that's what we're going through right now. So before you enter the market, you have to have a strategy. I'm going to bring up some. First, I'm going to show you the PDF file. I'm going to add some more to these tips. All right, and let me open this up a little bit more and scroll down. I'm going to get rid of my caption. All right. And let's move this down a little bit. Okay. So 5 tips for making your best offer. And again, it's giving you the background. We have a high buyer demand and a low inventory, a low supply of houses, and that's why we have this competition. So going to the first one, know your budget. Let's see if I get my highlighting pen here. Do I have my highlighting pen here? Maybe I don't have my highlighting pen here. All right. Well, know your budget. You should be able to see that because I'm actually on the PDF file right now. So know your budget. Knowing your budget and what you can afford is critical to your success as a home buyer. The best way to understand your numbers is to work with a lender so you can get pre-approved for a loan. And in many of my episodes, I talk about the importance of getting pre-approved before you go looking for a house. And especially in today's market. I can't, if I show you a house and you go, okay, that's really nice. Now I'm going to see if I could be pre-approved. I'm going to go speak to my loan. And we got to, if you want to apply for the house, we have to go and write the contract, send it out, and the pre-approval letter has to be accompanying that offer. It can't come 2 days afterwards. It's moving very, very fast. In fact, you're going to see that be prepared to move fast, and we can't have that coming in the next day or two. Okay? The buyers who are going to win the bid are the ones who are going to have the letter ready, and the seller knows this person is pre-qualified to buy this house. Okay? At that moment, you can't say, I'll get it back to you. Today is Saturday. I'll get it Monday, the latest Tuesday. No, can't do that. It has to be ready now. All right, we'll scan down a little bit more. So as it says here, be prepared to move fast. And just because of that, here they're saying that the average home is staying on the market for just 17 days. So it's a very short period of time. Now, that's probably when the contract actually goes pending. A lot of these are going into contract about 5 or 6 days after it first hitting the market. Now, what I notice what a lot of sellers are doing, like if they put a house on the market on a Tuesday and Wednesday, they will wait to Sunday evening or Monday morning to make a decision. They'll take in all the offers and make a decision Sunday evening or Monday morning. They may or may not go for a highs and best. If the offers are clustered closely to one price, they might do a highest and best. But if someone has really come in pronouncedly higher than the other offers, they probably would just go with that. Okay. And then, well, we'll talk about the other possibilities. But here they say a real estate professional can lead you to victory, and that's me. I could lead you to victory. Okay, and it's basically based upon my knowledge of the market, or I know I can't service everybody out there. Okay, but your agent should understand the market and how to best prepare you for what has to be done. Okay, I'm now using escalation clauses to try to win a contract, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So with my knowledge of the market and what's being done, I will pass that on to my buyers. Okay. Number 4, craft a strong, fair offer. In the past, offering at or near the asking price was enough to make your offer appealing to sellers. In today's market, that's often not the case. According to the latest Realtors Confidence Index from the National Association of Realtors, 50% of the offers are above list price. Okay, so right off the bat, they're offering more than the seller is asking for. But what I'm seeing is that some houses are not really worth that extra money. And if you view a house where there are still things that have to be fixed, well, let's go the opposite. We enter a house. It has all new flooring. What's very big right now is this premium vinyl. It's a mixture of wood and vinyl. It's very sturdy and durable, and it looks beautiful. All right. And if they've taken out the old rugs that have the dog stains on it and they replace it with this, that's a big benefit. All right. The kitchen is upgraded, the bathroom's upgraded with new cabinets, new countertops. So basically, the house is freshly painted. So basically, the only thing the new owner has to do is turn the key and move in. Those are the houses that you put higher than. But then there are some houses that do need work, and it's not worth a higher price. So that's what's happening. You need an agent like myself to do a comparative market analysis on the property to see what other homes within a 1 mile radius, and homes that are the same amount of bedrooms, the same amount of baths. The square footage should be no more than less than 10% and no higher than 10% of the actual square footage, and see what has sold, what's pending. You can look at what's active, but the real crux of it, the ones that will really matter, are the ones that are getting ready to close or have closed. All right. And if you are not seeing any homes in that price range of the home you want to put an offer on, then you may have to come down lower. But you need a trained professional to do that, to do that comparative market analysis for you. All right. Now we're going to go down to a big one. Understand the seller's needs, but resist waiving certain contingencies. And what are these certain contingencies that you don't want to give up? For instance, the home inspection. It's strange when the beginning of this frenzy we're going through right now. And for instance, if a buyer asks me to, they want to look at this property, let's see if it's available. And I see that it was available. It went on the market today is the 18th. It went on the market on the 16th, and on the 18th is pending. And right off the bat, I know that they have skipped the home inspection, because as your trusted advisor, okay, and what I'm able to see that the consumers can see, they will always see houses that are active, and even if there's a ratified contract on it, but it has a contingency like a home inspection, they could still view it via Zillow and Realtor.com, and if Trulia is still around, they could see it. But I could tell with my version of the listing that it is in contract, and they're awaiting the outcome of the home inspection. So a lot of people have been foregoing that, but I don't think that's a good idea. But what you could do instead is you still have the home inspection, and let me back up a little bit. You view the house, cosmetically it looks good. You might want to paint a little bit here, or straighten out a cabinet that's not on correctly, and you say, I could do those things. I have the money to pay a handyman or a contractor to do these things. And what has happened within the last year with COVID-19, since people weren't out traveling, to Europe, to, all across America, they didn't spend money on vacation time. They have a lot of extra money in the bank. They didn't go out eating that much. So all of a sudden now their bank accounts are going up. So a lot of people will do these repairs or upgrades on their own. Okay. But what you want to find out, if there's a major problem, with the house, like the roof is on its last legs, or the HVAC system is on its last legs, or there's termite damage in the crawl space, there's cracks in the foundation. If if you want a home inspector to check that out and to get an idea exactly what's wrong with it, but you can't really see. I mean, you might be able to see cracks in the foundation, okay? But the other things, the walking along the roof and seeing the true age of the roof, or going into the crawl space and seeing if there's any structural damage. You want the home inspector to do that. And if you find out that there's a lot of damage and it's too costly for you to fix, then you request at the end of that home inspection period, if it's 7 days after the ratification of the contract, you request to be released from the contract and get your earnest money deposit back. So the home inspection is only for informational purposes. And let's say you found out there's major problems with the house, then you have the right to be released from it. You have no other obligations, no other liabilities, and you get back your earnest money deposit. Here in Virginia, we usually use $500. Other parts of the country, they might do more. But you could even do more here, but on average, most people put down $500. Okay? Now, the next thing that they're doing that's a little bit more tricky is guaranteeing. And I don't know if I spelled guaranteeing correctly, because the spell check wasn't working when I was adding this to the PDF file. So guaranteeing the appraisal, what does that mean? Okay. So let's say you are in contract for this house and you offered $300,000. Now, the bank goes out there and appraises the house, and it's only worth $290K. Within the contract, it says that if it falls below the purchase price, you have the right to negotiate, and if you can't come to a happy agreement, you could be released from the contract and get your earnest money deposit back. It also says you could continue if you want, but you have that option to negotiate and then to be released from the contract if we can't get to a happy conclusion. But when you guarantee the appraisal, you're saying even if that appraisal comes below the purchase price, I'm still going to purchase that house at the $300,000. Okay. Now, with people who are using VA loans, they get 100% financing. So let's say the buyer who was going for this house was either active military or veteran. They're using the VA loan, and that's 100% financing, and they don't have to put any money down. In this case, if the appraisal came at $290K, they would have to put down that $10,000. And then, in most situations, because it is a seller's market, they will pay their own closing costs. And just to give you a ballpark figure, we'll take 3% of the $300,000. That's $9,000. So now they're paying now $19,000. Now, if that was the agreement, in most situations when it's not a seller's market, I could request, and usually they say yes, the seller will pay for the closing costs of the buyer, but that's not happening right now in most cases. All right. So in this case with the VA loan, he would have to bring in that $10,000 difference. Now, you use the conventional loans and you're putting down, let's say, 20%. That'll be, that won't be a problem with the appraisal, because if you're putting down 20%, and I believe that's $60,000. Hold on for a second. If you're putting that, then you'll be okay, because you're taking out a loan that is going to be less than the appraisal price, right? Okay, because in that case, you're only financing $240,000. The appraisal is at $290,000, and so you're okay. Now, the next thing that what are some people doing, and this gets a little tricky. I have a couple of contracts in with the escalation clause, but what it's saying, if another offer comes in and it's higher than mine, and let's use the 300K since I have it up here, and they came in at $301,000. Well, okay, yeah, 301,000. You could do an escalation clause that you will go, for instance, $500 higher than the competing offer. All right. And then you could put a limit. And my top, let's say, is 310. And this way you could stay in the game and hopefully beat out your competition. Sometimes a seller will say, I don't want any escalation clauses because it gets so complicated. But that's a way to keep in the game with all the competition that's out there. So you put in an escalation clause. Okay? So these are things that you could do to help prepare you to make a great offer. Other thing I want to say, let's say you've been approved up to let's say 310,000. I would say to play it safe and don't look higher than 300,000. So you have that buffer in case you have to make a offer higher, and you're also guaranteeing the appraisal. So look about 10, maybe 15,000 below the amount that you have been approved for, so that you have that buffer there to go a little bit higher. Now, might it change? It may change where there'll be less competition, but I don't see that happening until, let's say, the beginning of next year. Let me just. Hold on for a second, please. All right. Another one where I have a contract. Okay. So what I was saying, yeah. So go a little bit below your top, so you have that wiggle room to maybe offer a little bit higher. And again, I was saying, when will this change? It may change more in 2022. Experts are predicting that at that point, throughout 2022, prices might just go up about 5%, and then see, everything again, and I bring this out with all my episodes. It all depends upon if we get in control of this pandemic. Now, I'm seeing positive reports coming out, like these predictions that the amount of people with COVID going into the hospitals will be going down. So that's a good sign. So as long as we continue on this path of getting out of the situation of dealing with COVID-19 and hopefully at one point eradicate it, then all these predictions will come through. Now, if it gets worse, and we go more into, let's say factories and mills have to start closing down again, or limited staff, it's still hard to get certain type of items. Okay. And it's not just housing supplies, it's food and, well, I know food is a problem. Some items are hard coming out, but again, for housing supplies, like glass is still very hard to get, different housing supplies. So we have to get out of this pandemic all the way to know that we're on the right path for the economy to get strong. Now, everything what I'm talking about is based upon that projection that we are going to beat this pandemic and we will soon get back to some kind of normal. Okay? All right. So according to my watch there, I've been talking about 32 minutes and 50 seconds. So what I also want to do is remind you, I don't know if I'm going to show let me do that anyway. Let me break it up a little bit. And my full buyer and seller guides are out, and they're very helpful to read. They come out 4 times a year, and they'll be based upon the current market status of what's going on and the best way to strategize, and of course by using your trusted advisor. Okay, so let's take a little look at that. So you might say, where do I get these wonderful guides? Okay, and we have the nice Buying a Home this fall 2021 edition. All right, nice pictures. You have a nice couple in a rowboat. They have a beautiful fall foliage over here. And then we have the seller's guide. All right, and things to consider when you're selling your home. And you could say, where do I get these wonderful things? And it's right below here. You go to my blog, realestatewithmrg.blog, and you could just use this whole URL address. But once you get to the blog, you'll see a tab in the top menu bar for resource materials. And you go there and you could download one, you could download 2. There's actually a millennial guide for, if you're in that age group, if you're in that generation, and it gives you tips on purchasing. Okay. So I think my producer, William, is saying we have a special guest in the audience.
Yes. Great news. We have a wonderful performer in the audience. She performs plates.
Okay. Is he there? He should be. Where is he? No, that's okay. Let me try one more time. I'm having tech.
Yes. Great news. We have a wonderful performer in the audience. She performs plate spinning.
Oh, okay. Here he is. Okay.
Yes. Great news. We have a wonderful performer in the audience. She performs plate spinning, a circus manipulation art where a person spins plates, balls and other flat objects on poles without them falling off. Plate spinning relies on the gyroscopic effect in the same way a top stays upright while spinning. Ladies and gentlemen, the woman who performs plate spinning.
I'm not so sure if you saw it. It wasn't showing on my screen here. Technical difficulties, but anyway, I'll see you next Saturday. Have a good week. Hopefully, it's a little bit cooler this week. Be kind to each other. Get vaccinated. If you haven't been vaccinated, wear a mask. And as I always say, the greatest power we have is the love, and the greatest gift is each other. So I'll see you next week.
Okay.